If you're feeling stuck in the doldrums, today's episode is going to be focusing on your feel-good hormones to help you boost that mojo and get you feeling motivated and back on track in your life. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kate Hartley. I share a weekly video with you every Monday around something related to menopause. I followed the non-HRT route. I'm currently 54, went through perimenopause very early, and I'm a psychotherapist, have been for around about 2 decades, specialising in stress, grief, and anxiety. And I hope that what I share with you today is going to be helpful. It's going to be really tangible, easy steps, but also give you an overview of why you might be feeling like you're feeling, and also breaking down the main feel good chemicals, hormones that our body produces, how to make more of them, and how to mind out a few of the hijackers that might be having a negative impact on you. We're going to be talking about four of the main ones: oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, and dopamine. Dopamine is really your reward chemical. That's what you get from the cake, the glass of wine, I'm guilty of that, cryptocurrency, scrolling. The endorphins are what you get when you've been working out, for example. Serotonin really is that sense of just happy hormones. You feel quite peaceful and calm and contented in your life. Serotonin levels really are related to your gut health. And then oxytocin, which is really your bonding and hug hormone, as I like to call it. First of all, I'm going to talk about endorphins, the natural painkiller. Those are what give you your moments. You know, when you've done your workout and you're feeling really proud of yourself, you've got those feel good hormones flooding through your body. That's what endorphins represent. Help you deal with stress more effectively, dull pain, physical pain and emotional pain, and they give you that sense of joy and just support your overall sense of wellness. Kind of low endorphins might mean that you cry more easily, your tolerance to pain, to physical pain and also emotional pain is reduced, and that you just don't bounce back quite as well as you may have done previously. Oxytocin is what I call the hug hormone, and you can get it by cuddling your pet, having a hug with somebody close to you, even helping collect litter in your community. It's that sense of bonding that you get from oxytocin. Oxytocin is made in the brain, but it's triggered by how we interact. So it's all about building up those connections to make sure that we've got plenty of oxytocin being delivered to our systems. Oxytocin might show up as you feeling a little bit numb, feeling a bit disconnected. You may have a desire that you want connection with others, but you then start to withdraw emotionally. And with low oxytocin, you may struggle to open up to individuals and possibly also to yourself. It makes you feel quite isolated when you're lacking in oxytocin. Dopamine, there's a lot written about dopamine. It's your drive hormone, really. It's when why most people wake up in the morning and scroll their phones, because they're getting that instant sense of, this is the hit, this is what I need to see. It's kind of mind numbing. You end up down all these rabbit holes, and then you finish it and you just feel completely depleted. Dopamine is really focused around your reward centers. So dopamine tends to drive your addictions to foods that aren't really serving you, cigarettes, alcohol, promiscuity. It's the quick fixes that dopamine drives. While kids are going through their sort of teenage puberty years, that's when their dopamine levels are really high. And we all know how accident prone our teenagers are. That is largely down to that dopamine drive. Dopamine is made in the brain and also from your adrenal glands. So long-term stress can have a negative impact on your dopamine. But dopamine and serotonin, which I'm about to come on to, have like a seesaw effect. So if your serotonin levels are high, which is really what you want to achieve, then it has a counterbalancing effect to your dopamine. When your dopamine levels are high, it has a negative impact on your serotonin. And with dopamine being that sort of quick grab, I want the instant reward, that's how really society, particularly in the Western sort of world, is fixed at the moment. You know, you get the gambling adverts, you get the clothing adverts, you get the this is the best face cream advert, and all of a sudden you're thinking, I need that, I need all this stuff. And that is being driven by dopamine, but that then has that negative impact on serotonin. And serotonin is incredibly important. That's what, if you're given antidepressants, the antidepressants that you're given are designed to keep the serotonin that you have naturally occurring in your body, inside your body for longer, so that you get more benefit from your naturally occurring serotonin. So dopamine might look like cravings. Often you need to sort of get off that dopamine roller coaster, and that can take a little bit of while, which does take a little bit of consistency. But when you focus on just adding things in rather than taking things out, like improving your gut health, coming on to serotonin in a minute, you will find that the quick fixes that you used to really need actually no longer are bothering you to such a degree. A lot of people that I talk to, it's online shopping. They've got how many sweaters, but they still need another one, and they need another dress, and they need another pair of shoes and another handbag. That is dopamine. It's getting you that quick fix, but it doesn't really fix your life. And then when you've got it, just, oh God, now where do I put it? I need a new wardrobe. I need a new house to fit all my clutter. And that has a negative impact on really how you feel about yourself, because you know deep down you don't really need it, which then has that, that helps to describe that seesaw with the serotonin and the dopamine, because while you got the quick hit with the dopamine, the seesaw of that is the fact that, oh, I'm feeling a bit meh because my serotonin levels are low. I keep chasing the highs, and I need that continuum of, nicely balanced hormones, which we get when we look after ourselves like a human being. Dopamine can also be starting a lot of different things. I'm actually very guilty of this and never completing them, although I do complete them eventually. I think it's just part of my squirrel brain. So if you're like me and you do lots of, you do start lots of tasks, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're low in dopamine. I don't chase rewards. I think my serotonin is pretty high. But I do think it's something that we need to be aware of, that, if you have got low dopamine, then we don't want too low dopamine, because then life just feels bleh. But you want enough to give you that. It's quite motivational, dopamine is. It's like stress. There's the negative stress, and there's something called eustress, so EU stress. And that eustress is positive stress. It drives us to do these things, which then can enhance our life. Maybe getting out of bed rather than lying in bed all day because you feel tired. That eustress is actually, I need to get out because I need to be productive. I need to achieve these things so that I can get them off my to-do list. I feel good about myself, serotonin and endorphins and dopamine to a degree. And then you know that your life is, you're achieving what you need to achieve in your life. And that's really, really important. So all these things interact. It's just making sure that they're interacting on the right kind of level, so that not one of them is kind of leading the way like dopamine, and the others are all being sort of, all I'm seeking is the quick highs rather than the balanced contentment, which is ideally what you want to be aiming for. Serotonin is your sort of steady feel-good hormone. About 90 to 95% of serotonin is created in your gut. So gut health is incredibly important. Make sure you're eating a wide range of fruits and vegetables, that you're getting plenty of protein, particularly menopausal, because our ability to synthesize protein actually goes down as we go through the menopause, which is one of the reasons why we're more prone to brittle bone disease, and our skin gets all of a sudden more wrinklier and less elastic. But serotonin really is that chemical that promotes that sense of that deep thread of contentment in your life. And when your serotonin levels are good, like I mentioned before, it's going to have that positive balance, that negating the dampening effect on needing the quick rewards, which is when you're dopamine driven. Low serotonin is low mood. You just feel sluggish. There is no real spark there. You might be waking up feeling already low and tired. That could also be your adrenals needing a break. But your adrenals also, if you're chasing the dopamine high, that's not good for your adrenal health. So again, it's like that dopamine serotonin seesaw. Just be mindful of it, that the quick rewards do have that negative impact on your supply of serotonin. I'm just going to go over what actually acts as hijackers for each of these various feel-good hormones. Starting with endorphins. Endorphins are our natural painkillers and pleasure givers. Like pain medications have a negative impact on your endorphins, because your body's almost getting used to having the pain medication, so it loses its sensitivity to the endorphins that you need in order to modulate that pain. Binges can mimic endorphin highs, but of course that disrupts your gut health, which then has that massive negative impact on your serotonin. and your body as a whole. It leads to increased inflammation and also decreased insulin sensitivity, which is not a good thing. Sedentary lifestyle will also negatively impact your endorphins. That's one of the beauties of strength training. And I know I keep talking about strength training, but strength training is one of the most important things that you can do for your menopausal symptoms and making sure that you live a healthy life through menopause and beyond. The endorphins that you get from strength training will help to mitigate some of the more negative things you might be doing, like, the cakes, like the wine, like the dopamine fixes that, we're human, we all go for them, but it's making sure that they're in relative balance. Oxytocin hijackers. So oxytocin is your connection hormone. It's actually surprisingly fragile in modern life as we live it, partly because we've become so isolated. We either work remotely, we message people, we rarely have phone conversations, we're not really connected with our communities anymore, we might live a long distance from our families. That might be good, it might be bad. We tend to live in a society now where, unless we're actively getting our oxytocin, maybe from pets, maybe from grandchildren, maybe from a few good quality relationships, you might be feeling quite lacking in your oxytocin. Emotional suppression can negatively impact your oxytocin. So if you've got unresolved trauma that you're bringing through into your sort of latter years from earlier years, emotional suppression can really have a negative impact because you're almost disconnecting yourself from your emotions. Toxic relationships, instead of creating that sense of security and that love, obviously that's having completely the opposite effect. It's making you fearful, and of course that's going to have a negative impact on your oxytocin levels. Oxytocin thrives on safe touch, eye contact, connection with others. So even if you live by yourself and you feel lonely and isolated, there must be something that you can contribute to outside that gives you that sense of connection, whatever it might be, even if it doesn't involve other people. When I take my dogs for a walk on the beach, I often take a big bucket and I go and collect glass. And it makes me feel good. Yeah, it's partly endorphins, but it's partly oxytocin too, because I know I'm contributing to our local environment in just helping get rid of some of the glass that washes up on our beach. So there are small things like that that you could do. Talk to your plants. You could sow seeds and grow your own cucumbers and tomatoes, and people might think, well, that's just bonkers, talking to your fruits and vegetables. It's not bonkers if it works for you. I love my plants. A lot of my plants actually have names. Most of them begin with D for some reason, but it gives me a great sense of connection with my plants. And if you are a plant lover like I am, and you don't have pets, that might be your way forward. I'm surrounded by animals. I'm very lucky. I also have my daughter here. She still lives at home. And my son, I see him quite regularly, and we have a lot of calls and contact that way. So I honestly feel like for somebody who's been single for years and years and years, my oxytocin gets activated in multiple different ways. But some of those, I'm actually instigating that activation. So it's not always about other people coming to us. It's about us thinking, okay, well, what can I do to contribute? Or what can I use in my immediate environment to help me create that sense of connection? And that might just be being kind to your spider plant. So about dopamine hijackers, I mean, we all like that sense of reward, don't we? I mean, it drives us. But when we've got too much of it, it does have a negative impact. And that can often lead to the addictions with the ultra processed foods, the alcohol, the cigarettes, drugs, gambling, etc. Wine is a usual suspect. I'm as guilty as ever. I love a glass of red wine in the evening. In fact, I normally have a glass and a half, sometimes two if I'm really pushing the boat out. I get a lot of pleasure from that glass of wine, not necessarily from the alcohol. I just really love wine. I'm sure there is an alcoholic element to it, but I do go teetotal, and I don't struggle to go teetotal. It's just a drink that I really, really enjoy. So be aware of these sorts of things. Like I say, the online shopping is an issue, and if we're creating too much fake dopamine, so we're getting our dopamine hits from things outside, the early morning phone scrolling. I mean, how much time do people waste on their phone just scrolling or going through social media? And it just has such a negative impact on you, as well as wasting a lot of time. So when we're going for these artificial fixes, our body's thinking, well, okay, well, I won't bother making so much dopamine because I don't need to, because he or she's like, she's doing her online shopping again. She's buying jumper number 50 that she doesn't need. And so just be really mindful that these behaviors that we do we often don't think about why we're doing them. We just sit there and think, oh, it's a really lovely jumper. I really don't need. And so just be mindful of that. If you're doing that, know that that's that quick reward thing that you're going for, and also the fact that it has the negative impact on your serotonin levels, which are your contentment, your peace feeling hormones. Then finally, serotonin, our peace hormone. Quite a lot of affects serotonin. Obviously, chasing the quick rewards because of that dopamine serotonin seesaw, but also poor gut health. So if you're eating a lot of microwave meals, you're eating a lot of the ultra processed foods, you're not eating your fruits and veggies, you're not really prioritizing your protein, then it does have a negative impact on your serotonin, your gut health, which then has a big impact on your serotonin levels. Carbs are good. Complex carbs we need. Everybody, there is so much stuff out there still saying carbs are the enemy. They're not. A woman's body needs healthy carbs. It's making sure that we're not overeating too many carbs. So if you have a spaghetti bolognese at the end of the day, make sure the majority of your plate is the bolognese and a small amount of that is spaghetti, and possibly even incorporate some more vegetables into that to make it more of a sort of balanced macro meal. You don't want to be going low fat, but you do want to be focusing on your protein, and to actually eat enough protein is actually quite a challenge. But chronic stress negatively impacts our serotonin levels. Often you feel something's wrong with your gut, it upsets your tummy when you're under long-term stress. That also has a negative impact on the amount of serotonin that we're able to produce. Lack of sunlight, and I mean, so many of us lack sunlight, even if you live in a sunny climate. Because we work and live in boxes, we drive to work in a box, or we get driven or transported to work in a box. We then sit in a box, probably in a box at work. Our houses, they're boxes, and unless you actually go out and actively seek 30 minutes of natural sunlight, ideally first thing in the morning every day, you're probably seriously lacking in your vitamin D3 levels, but also your levels of serotonin, which then has a negative impact on your sleep. We definitely need exposure to the ultraviolet in order to make sure that we're sleeping well enough. And then, of course, if you have poor sleep, that then has a negative impact on your serotonin levels. So nothing is a singular issue. Everything is interrelated. And when you can focus on getting your sunlight, eating food that a normal human being would eat, and including some movement into that without stressing about the minutiae of it too much, because it can be quite overwhelming. In actual fact, if you want I've recently created a free starter guide to strength training, but it's not just about strength training. It goes into a lot of detail. I am eventually going to create that as a paid product. I also will eventually, at the moment, there's 3 sample workout plans in there. I will eventually be adding short videos to give a demonstration of each of the moves that I suggest that you use in those 3 workouts. But for the moment, it's free, and I will be adding things to it as time goes on. So if you want to get that, click the link in the description box below and you're welcome to it. How to kickstart the supply of your various happy hormones. So starting with endorphins, get your body moving. Earlier in the day is better. It gives you more productivity and focus as the day goes through, but you've already started on a win. You're not doing the doom scrolling. You're moving your body actively. And if you can incorporate strength training into that movement, or a walk with your dog and then give it a cuddle, that's going to have a profound impact on your supply of your expression of endorphins. You can listen to music that moves you. It doesn't need to be huge rock music. It doesn't need to be beautiful classical music, whatever you like. It's amazing what an impact music has on you. Whenever I'm having to do something really focused, I've got instrumental music that I love listening to, and the soundtrack from Gladiator. Don't know what it is about that. The Gladiator one, I just love that. So often that's going on in the background, and it just makes me feel calm, and I can work and I can get into a really good flow, and that works for me. Dancing will help give you a flood of endorphins, or have a good old belly laugh. Phone somebody up who's funny and you can have a good old giggle, or even watch a funny film if you have time. But things that can just give you that release of just funniness and just energy, and you just think, I've actually done something good for myself. That's how you can encourage the supply of endorphins. Oxytocin, give yourself a hug. look at yourself in the mirror and speak kindly to yourself. Personally, it's not something that I could do. I just feel a complete twerp. But you have to find what works for you. I would give my dogs a hug. I give my daughter a hug. I tell everyone I love them. Obviously, if I do love them, they're like, don't know them very well. I'm probably not going to say that. But you can be connecting with so many different things. Go and feed your house plants. Give them some tender love. Do some propagating. I get such a sense of I just love propagating. And for me, that gives me oxytocin. So, just find what works best for you because we're all different. And it might be looking at your goldfish and talking to Gary for a while. Dopamine is, I would set yourself one small goal that is new to what you do right now, and let that be a positive goal that gets that dopamine flowing naturally rather than the doom scrolling on your phone. So instead of scrolling, maybe do a 5 or 10 minute workout. Or instead of doom scrolling, go for a brisk walk or take your dog out for a walk or just do something that involves action and that you can knock off your list and feel a sense of satisfaction for having done it. Cold water plunging, or even just putting your hands and wrists and putting your face in really cold water, that will give you that dopamine rush. Breath work will also give you that sense of reward, but obviously in a much calmer way. But it doesn't have to be like a full battery power load of something that we do that involves masses of action to get that dopamine. It's just something that we get that sense of reward from. So, you don't need to go and plunge into an Icelandic pond. Just put your hands under some cold water and run the water for a while, or splash your face with cold water. I'm a complete wimp with cold water. So when I wash my face in cold water, I always feel great afterwards, but it's just like, oh, I have to really galvanize myself to do it because it's just one of those things that I find difficult. So again, find what works best for you, but make sure that you've got something that you think, all right, I'm going to wake up and this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to set your day up so well and productively with a healthy burst of dopamine rather than an unhealthily driven source of dopamine. Boosting your serotonin, get outside as soon as you can do in the daylight. Ideally, if it's sunny, just try and be out there for 20-30 minutes. Take your dog for a walk if you've got one, then give it a hug. So you've got your oxytocin boost, and you'll also get your dopamine reward because you've got a sense of you've done something and you feel good, your endorphins. So dog walking and dog hugging is a big, big plus. If you don't have a dog, just go out and do a quick walk. Also, to boost serotonin, focus on healthy food, gut healthy food. So fermented foods, if you can, make sure you're eating complex carbs and protein. It's going to be beneficial for your serotonin levels. Try and mitigate your stress. Work out what you can control and what you can't control. The stuff you can't control, you may as well just park it because you're just wasting energy thinking about it. And I know we all do, but bringing an awareness to that helps us park it. And then think, okay, well, what can I reduce the stress of right now? And work on just one or two of those things and work your way through the list gradually. It doesn't matter if you don't do it in a day or a week or a month or a year. That's not the point. It's the fact that you have a sense of achievement from doing a few things that are beneficial for you. Cool, strength training, because that ticks all 4 boxes at once. Strength training is really, I know, even if you're really lacking motivation. Do you know what? I always say to people, you choose your hard, because feeling unfit and weak and fragile with sore joints is hard. Feeling strong, getting up and doing your workout, and even on the days you don't really feel like it or you've slept badly, that can also be hard. But that's a positive hard, not a negative hard. When you start strength training, even if you start with sore joints, your joint health will improve. Your muscles will get stronger. You will burn fat more effectively. You will improve your mental health. Your metabolism will fire up. You will detox more effectively. There was something else I was going to say and I've completely forgotten what it is. It also gives you brain clarity. I've not worked out yet today. Is that obvious? But it has so many benefits. And once you get into the swing of doing it, it has this self-perpetuating movement, really, because when you then don't do it, I miss the days I don't work out. And yeah, it took me a little while to get there, but it is discipline. But once you start, I think we all live in this life where we just think, oh, it's going to be handed to us on a plate. We're disposable, aren't we? You got disposable meals, you've got disposable knickers, you've got disposable this, that, and the other. But sometimes we actually do have to roll up our sleeves and make an effort. And strength training is one of those things that when you start it, the benefits of it, you just you cannot fault it. And if you've got problems, just modify if you need to. When I had both of my double bunionectomy a few years back, so I technically could not put weight on my feet for a good 6 weeks, and your feet are agonizing after you've had a double bunionectomy. Both bones have been broken, they've been dislocated, broken, they've been chopped away, you've been sewn up, and you've got these horrible swollen things that feel like you've got bits of glass inside of your foot. Day 3, I was back exercising, and that's not, oh, how great am I? It's because I know how important it was for my, not only my muscle tone, but my mental health. I could not have stayed 6 weeks without doing any movement. And of course, I didn't do anything on my feet. I did most of it on my back or on my side. I used a ball to help support me as well. I had to stagger to my workout position with my crutches. But it worked really, really well. And that recovery time, when it helped me heal so fast. And people say, oh, I've just had this certain joint replaced, or I've had this operation. But there's other parts of your body you can still move. If your lower part is painful, use your upper body. If your upper body, if you've got frozen shoulder, do your squats, do your lunges. There is so much that you can do. And incidentally, there's so much more information around frozen shoulder and menopause these days, because so many women I know sort of hit menopause and all of a sudden their shoulders are freezing up. Well, I'm a huge believer that if we keep our joints mobile, we will avoid those sorts of things happening. So, we really do need to be mindful of deciding which hard we choose and letting the good hard eventually become easy. And it just helps to support so many other aspects of your life. So make sure, if you're on the fence and you're thinking, oh, just download that starter guide. It will help you. It'll give you so much information. And like I say, it's got 3 full workouts in there for you as well. It really is about you nudging yourself back into a routine that supports your feel-good hormones and allowing them to be produced effectively, and for us not to be, niggling away at them in a negative way by doing the things that we know we shouldn't do. And it is discipline. We all have to make that discipline. It is a choice. So there are things that you can do to support your feel-good hormones. And yes, in certain circumstances, you may need the medications to support your mental health. And no judgment on that at all. This is very much for people who could do a bit better. We could all do a bit better, couldn't we? But maybe using a lack of motivation as an excuse. But when you understand why, it then puts you in the driver's seat to think, well, actually, I could change that. Instead of going to have a cake, I'm going to have an apple, or I'm going to have some dates, or, whatever it might be. Instead of online shopping for the 50th jumper, I'm actually going to do a walk with my dog or do my strength training workout. Or even think, no, I'm going to shut it down because I don't need that jumper. I'm going to go and do something different instead. Maybe I'll have a delicious cup of coffee. And that can be your reward instead of the constant buying of stuff that we don't need. So having that awareness makes a massive difference, and it is about just bringing that awareness to the forefront of your mind so that you can then think, okay, well, I would actually like to start to feel a little bit better. I am a bit sluggish, my mood is really low, I don't sleep particularly well, so what can I do? Strength train. But also, focus on your gut health. Focus on keeping your dopamine and your serotonin in balance. Hug people, or do something for your community, or start talking to your spider plant. And just be mindful that there is a lot that you still can do. I think we often feel helpless. To be honest, society wants us to feel helpless because that's how various other things make money from us. But don't buy into that. Buy into you, and you will feel so much better. So I hope this has been helpful. I'd be really interested to hear in the comments, what do you find lifts your mood the best? Certainly for me, when I'm in a funk, I will go for a walk. I might even go for a swim or a paddleboard, and obviously strength training pretty much every day. So, and gut health, I really do focus on my gut health, and I just think it's one of the easiest things that we can do. All you're doing is adding in, you're not really taking out, and it's amazing the impact that can have. So I'd love to hear what you find useful to you. If you've got anything you'd like me to cover in a future episode, just pop it in the comments or message me privately. And if you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. I can't talk today. It's like my teeth are wobbling. And I look forward to seeing you next week.